Hey there, welcome back to the Startup Experiment. Today I'm going to talk about how I've worked on the Startup Experiment for almost 2 months now, but yet I haven't shipped a single application. I'm then going to talk about how I plan to ship more in the months going forwards. And finally, I'll walk through all the design updates that I've done for two of the projects that I've been working on over the last week. Let's jump right into it. As I mentioned in the intro, I've got a problem with the Startup Experiment right now. I'm not shipping enough stuff. Whether it's landing pages, full-blown applications, MVPs, whatever you want to call it, I haven't done a good enough job of shipping that stuff out to my customers yet. I think in order for this experiment, building 12 apps in 12 months to be successful, I need to get into a better cadence of shipping more. This challenge was inspired in part by Peter Levels. And if you take a look at his profile, the top tweet that he has pinned to his profile says, 4 out of 70 projects I ever did made money and grew. 95% of everything I ever did failed. My hit rate is only about 5%, so ship more. Right now I'm creating a lot, but I'm not shipping a lot. If the things that I create only stay on my local computer, in this room, at my house, I won't know if they're going to succeed or fail. In order for something to be considered shipped, it needs to be seen or used by potential customers. If I'm shipping early and often, it allows me to deliver things in smaller chunks. And then I can get feedback from people on those little chunks of work over time. It even allows me to find out if there's even customers out there, like I did with the landing page experiment. That was a great example of shipping. Even when that idea wasn't fully formed, I was able to put something out there and get feedback from the people that either signed up or didn't sign up for the landing page for the salary negotiation agent. One thing I want to call out is that designs, I don't think they count as shipping. Now, if my job is a designer and I am tasked with creating designs for an application that my team is working on, by all means, those designs count as shipping. You are completing your work and you're putting it in the hands of your users, which is the rest of your team, to give you feedback, and then you can create iterations on that design. But for me as a solo founder, solopreneur, indie hacker, whatever you have it, designs are just part of the process. I need to get really good at creating very simple designs very quickly and then turning that into code or landing pages or marketing material that I can get out in front of people to see if they like the concepts that I'm building. Shipping quickly is something that I think a lot of software engineers and developers struggle with. You'll often hear stories from people about how they're tinkering on something on the side, but it's just for themselves. Maybe they'll make some money with it down the road, but right now they're not ready. Sometimes you also see retrospective blogs or posts on the internet about how people have built something in silence over a long period of time, then they released it and there were crickets. No one wanted the product that they had built. This is something that I've struggled with myself in the past, trying to find that motivation to build and ship different things on the side. I always end up waiting for the mock-up to be perfect or the concept to be all fleshed out, or waiting for some milestone or level of completion before I push out my work. But that's just not working right now. I need to ship more. Now that it's my full-time job and I'm dedicated to doing this challenge over the next year, I need to get really, really good at building that muscle of just throwing things out there and shipping it every single day. And at the core of it, I think I need to be okay with shipping subpar work. There's a famous quote from Reid Hoffman, one of the founders of LinkedIn. If you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late. During this startup experiment, I need to take that to the extreme. I need to get really embarrassed with the products that I'm creating, but still try to deliver value to people. So let's dive into how I'm going to change some of my habits so that I can ship more and more and more stuff over the next month. There's this sticky that I've got on my monitor that says action over analysis has to be greater than 0. This is something that I've been working on for a while, but I really want to ramp that up. If I'm doing 1 part analysis, I want to do 5 parts action. But one of the big changes that I want to make is making sure the action is creating things that others can see or use. It doesn't just count if I make it for myself and I feel like I'm making a little bit of progress. It feels good at the end of the day, but really I haven't moved that needle forward at all. To track whether that needle is moving forwards and I'm progressing in this challenge, I've set 3 different metrics that I want to track over the next month. The first one I think is the most important. It's committing code 3 times a day. We've all seen that graph on our GitHubs. And for me, it looks a lot like some days, maybe once a week or twice a week, I'm writing code. But I want to see code written every single day. The second metric that I want to track is listing projects in 3 places a day. I want to make sure that when I do ship something, people know about it. So I've got to get crafty with the ways that I'm advertising, engaging with different communities, asking for feedback, and just putting my products out there. The third metric that I want to track is having 3 applications published by the end of March. This one's quite ambitious, so I'm not going to hold myself to publishing the salary negotiation application that I've been working on. But these can be 3 applications maybe that are really simple. They could be tutorials. As long as I'm publishing them out there, putting my own little twist on them, I'm going to count that as a win that I'm moving forward and that I'm building that muscle of shipping things. For the last part of the video today, I wanted to give an overview of what I've been spending a lot of my time on over the last week. It's been quite the crazy week here. One of our dogs, Lily, had surgery this week to remove a possibly cancerous toe. She's doing great now. She's already walking around, bouncing around, and she's back to her old self. So it's great that she's recovered so quickly, but that did take a little bit of a hit to my productivity this week. Nonetheless, I did work on 2 different workflows for 2 projects. The first one being the Micro Habits app. This is what I was referring to before as the 1% Better app. This is my version of a habit tracking application. I'll do a quick walkthrough here of the screens that I created for this application, but I'm hoping by next week this will actually be published in an app store somewhere. So here we've got the standard sign up screen, enter your email, sign in with Google, Micro Habits. I took some time to lay out the first time user flow, talking through the philosophy for the application, talking about how people often don't know how to make a change. They try to take big or drastic actions at first, but then revert back to their old ways. And the better approach is to take a small, manageable step that compound into big changes over time. This is actually what I'm trying to do with shipping things more too. Little tiny steps in the right direction are going to compound and hopefully pay dividends in the long run. These small changes can seem insignificant at first, but they can have really big effects over the long period of time. So 1% gain, this is kind of the core number that gets thrown out there all the time. 1% gain, if you do something every single day, is going to make you 37 times better after a year. Then it jumps into how do you use this Micro Habits application. Basically, you track 1% every single day. When you miss a day, your skill level stays the same. When you miss a second day in a row, it starts to dip back down, right? That muscle or that skill is atrophying at that time, and you are not making progress anymore. If you watched last week's video when I had the low resolution, medium resolution prototypes for this, I'm really kind of digging the color scheme that I've got going on. Some of the gradients do need a little bit of work, but I'm happy with the progress that I've made, and it's starting to reflect more what I had in my head for this application. I also went through and created some basic flows for creating a habit, selecting a habit from my dropdown that we've got there. I do have to finish the screen for adding reminders, so that will be on my to-do list for later today. This is a mock-up of what the home screen might look like. I'm not completely sold on this yet. I think I need to do a few different revisions to make this a little bit cleaner. But the one screen that I do like that's not quite displayed right here on this prototype is this habit screen, right? So you've got your graph that shows your progress over time. You can select whether you viewed the last week of progress, the last month, or the last year, or all time. It's going to highlight in a couple different places your total improvement so that people are always seeing that. It's always top of mind. I've been toying around with the idea of keeping streaks so people can see how long they've been going. I think streaks are a double-edged sword. It can be great motivation, but if you miss a day, it can be really devastating, and then you might not get back into the application. The other little thing I have down here is the 30-day grid. This is something I saw that a lot of the other habit tracking applications are doing. I think I might remove it because I like this graph a whole lot better. I think it gets across the point that I'm trying to make, that you're becoming better over time, and you can see that graph rise, and it's really, really cool. So that's the Micro Habits application as it is now. My goal is to get a MVP version of that deployed to the App Store by the end of next week. Let's see if we can do it. The other thing that I spent some time on this week was sjb.dev. That is my personal website that I'm building out. The purpose of this website is to give me a place to share all the different projects that I'm working on. a little bit more about myself, and also just build up some more coding reps in my repertoire. I'm really excited about the startup experiment portion of this website where I can link to the latest vlog. I can show all the active projects that are in the works. I can also display any active experiments that are going on with those projects. So if I am testing a landing page or I'm running an advertising test for something, I can have that linked here with the hypothesis and all the metrics that are going into that. And then I also want to be really transparent about what it's like running this startup experiment, how much money I've spent, how many startups I've created, how much money those startups have earned. So that's all going to be captured here in this metrics portion of the page. Eventually, I'd love to turn this into a more full featured dashboard design. But in order to ship something quickly, I'm going to go with a more conventional layout and then eventually build out this dashboard design that really lays out all the information about the startup experiment in one place. So that is it for me this week. I'm going to go work on shipping some more stuff, and I will see you next week.